My name is Neil. I'm with Dorkaholics, where we believe that there is a dork in everyone, and it's our job to bring that dork out into the world.
Nice.
Mhm.
I like it. I'm a dork.
Perfect. That's a question I'd love asking people about. What made them a dork growing up?
Actually, I like painting all of that stuff first when I was a little child. And but then my father kind of took me to learn music and all that good stuff. So I got extensive education both on painting and and music. So naturally I'm kind of a bit of a nerd and just when I was young I just locked inside of home practice either painting or play piano in a practice room down the street, not far away from me, because at the time my home that we don't have a piano, so I have to go to this little piano room to, uh, you know, yeah, just play piano. And my biggest passion at the time, of course, those two and play soccer. So, by the way, I just on the record, I want to say I was the fastest running kid, like for 30 meters. In my county, I was number one. So yeah, so I got selected by the Chinese government to train, become a soccer player, played right wing for just the right side of the soccer field. Yeah, they call it right wing position, right? So I was doing that for like since I was six till I was 13. And when I was 13, I went to music school, full-time music school. So I won't be able to play soccer, full-time anymore. So, but yeah, so but for the most part, I am a dork.
Oh, gosh, wow. Soccer, painting, music. Oh, you had your hands full as a kid.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But
I'm so
anyway, so did you get a chance to watch a film, or
yes, I was there Monday night.
how did you like the film?
It was incredible. Just hearing you talk right now about like your background in painting. I knew you had mentioned that night about being a musician and musically trained, and that presents itself in the subject matter of the gift and how it is about a girl discovering her gift as a pianist and all these other elements involved with it. But the painting thing, this is new. I didn't hear of that Monday night, so now it's like, wow, you were that the cinematography and the visual element of the gift. It's like, wow, I'm curious how what your working style is. Do you visualize the scene in your mind and then you use the cameras and your cinematography in order to bring that to life? Or are you kind of going in raw and then kind of assembling it as you go?
I kind of like I have early on I planned it. I want to make sure that her childhood sequences is going to be all very magical. I really want to focus on shooting everything natural light, and I'm trying because also the other thing is logistically, like if you bring a lot of lights in the woods, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So first of all, we have a limited budget, and but we were really ambitious with what we got, and so I want to always want to stick with natural light and make it as pretty as possible her childhood because what happened I have that memory when I was a kid. I remember even the rain, everything seemed to be so different, so pretty, and now like when I look at rain, it's not the same, So I feel there's something we lost something when we grow up because we've been saturated with other things that has polluted our minds in some way, right? So I just want her childhood to be like remind everyone how beautiful it was when you were kids, So I paid a lot of attention to see make sure the sun angle is just right and the way the color palette, where we point the camera, it's like it's just every shot. I want to make sure just like it reminds you she's living in a world even it's very rural, very simple, but this is really magical. So and then that's kind of a gift, like a gift of Mother Nature, our life, one chance, that we can enjoy all this.
There was also a really magical part of the film where whenever there was music, whenever there was characters playing the piano, as well as how that played off very well with the cinematography and the visuals of the film. Could you describe how you blended the two or how you managed such a beautiful balance of both auditory and visual?
Thank you, thank you. So, the thing is like I always felt like music and visual is connected. They're helping each other so you know dramatically. Like a lot of famous writers always say when they don't know what to do, they need to get a piece of music and then just let the music help the visuals, right? So that's kind of the reason. So I want to show it can be super powerful when the two collide and when they can be mixed together somehow, helping propel the story forward, right? Or you want to slow down at a certain moment. For example, in the film, there's a scene. Uh, she listened to the radio. She knows it's gonna rain, so she went to the piano and covered the piano out, and the two kids hide in the rain, right? And I chose to use a very well-known nocturne that is Chopin's famous nocturne, and to my whole idea was like when she's adult, she come home, buried her father. Now she has to go back to think about her childhood. So her life right now saturated with classical music. So therefore, at that moment, it's the nocturne accompany her memory of childhood hiding in the rain. It's just combination of I just think it's so beautiful that way you get that romantic time period music. So touching and but it's so laid back, such a laid back way because the way how Clara Lee play piano, her touch is very, very different than anybody I heard from the classical, like from that, like mainly play romantic time period. So she got that intangible that, not saying she's technically the best, but just something about the way how she interpret all these music and especially like her just side read or just listen to a bunch of stuff. She have that ability. Only very few people have that ability to read music in real time. So she can play any intermediate level in completely real time with expressions. It's very, very cool. So a lot of those little things like what you're talking about, the music, we take a piece of music, like for example, she's writing a letter to her father in Florence. And the scenery is so beautiful. How we're gonna, do that instead of do the normal conventional split screen. I decided to kind of instead split screen just like blended the her hand and her writing and her the piano playing all blended into the background, kind of make like a cohesive one. That's kind of somewhat because I would used to be a motion graphic artist, so I know compositing very well. So I'd be able to combine some images and things like that. That's kind of part of the thing that that I really enjoy the most, like use music, visuals, try to blend them together and try to somehow make the viewer feel something. So
I definitely felt something, especially you mentioned the main character having to bury her father. I buried my own mother about 9 years ago, so I connected well with the story. And I know you mentioned losing your father as well during the between the production and the release of this film.
yeah,
So
yes.
my last question I wanted to ask was, are there any fond memories you have of your father that helped you kind of characterize the portrayal of father-child relationships in this film?
Yeah, so my father definitely is one of the big contributor to the shape of my life, who I become, right? So, because he was so wanted me to be great, because my father was a very, very talented musician, but unfortunately, he's a very quiet, stubborn man, and so I heard his music before. I know how great he was, but nobody paid attention. He just played with other, people in the symphony and play together, sits below the stage. So he determined he want because he's loved also photography and stuff. So he become a very, very accomplished DP. He shot a lot of television series and documentaries and whatnot. So he did have a lot of influence on me. And but the biggest one, the experience between me and him is like he always put me on his bicycle. Well, in China, back then we don't have any other way to for transportation. So I was sitting on the bicycle, the frame, the top that rail. I'm sitting on that, and he was ride a bicycle. Literally, essentially, I'm right in front of him, and so he was ride a bicycle, take me to music lessons, to places to for me to paint and stuff. So my memory of him is like always, like wake me up, encourage me to go, do these things, right? And then the one experience with him is just like it's the most deep memory of him was um, when I still remember I was only 2 years old. Okay, so and I really care about my hair. So my dad says, "Time to cut your hair." I said, "Okay, great." And I asked him, I said, "What style you're gonna cut my hair?" He said, "Well, I'm gonna cut you the classic, in Chinese they call 分头, which is like there's a line here. You can kind of make your hair go both ways, right?" So he said, "That's what I'm gonna do." I said, "Great, fantastic." And and he just kept cutting my hair, and he just like messed it all up. He couldn't do it right because he doesn't really know how to cut hair. So end up he just like shaved my head, basically completely cut all my hair. And I remember I was crying so hard, right? When I saw in the mirror, I'm like, it's all gone, and I'll just start crying. And the day I found out he died, and it was really interesting. Tears, because when I was crying when I was two, that's the first time the tear fall into my mouth that I realized it was so salty, right? So yeah, I wrote a little bit online of like that the tear today falling down my face, I once again taste that saltiness, in my mouth. It was a kind of a that part about me and my dad together that was really stick with me for the rest of my life, and he really cared about me. Even he's very strict, and my dad is like a very what you call it, like very stubborn, and he's nobody gonna mess around with him. He's the opposite of me. I don't, I'm not considering myself a tough guy. He's a definitely tough guy. Nobody mess around with this guy, and because he is one of those guys, you look at him, he just it's not his size. He something in his eyes. He's got that power, So very interesting. But yeah, so yeah, I you know. Unfortunately, I spent most of my life away from him because I moved to the U.S. And then him and my mom visited a few times, but they don't speak English. They want to stay in China. So and it was always, when I was doing this movie, I always felt like, that's how I felt like um and like the Abigail would how she would have felt when she was tour and her father passed away at home, and they have not seen each other for years. So, and that's largely those stories, the inspiration coming from the separation between me and my family. And I know when you're nurturing a talent and or you're pursuing a career elsewhere, and that's, those sacrifices your parents have to make, and yeah. So the story largely, have that imprint on, if that explained it.
No, you certainly did. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sunny, and thank you so much for making the gift that is the movie The Gift. It was a beautiful film, and I'm sure many people who go out and see it will taste salty tears after watching your movie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, thank you. Help me promote it. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
will do.
Thank you.